Okay, so we're talking about what can go wrong in relationships, the difficulties in relating to people. I'm going to use a metaphor of a tree. It's quite a strange tree, and it's quite a loose metaphor, but the reason for using a metaphor, I think, is because it's so loose. But it's not. A few leaves. This is the canopy of the tree, and it grows. Trees tend to grow. What happens in the environment, the soil, the wind, the weather. There's a bit more around here, isn't there? But actually, this tree. Very weak chin, is our brains. So to continue the metaphor a little bit, we have a brain stem, we have sort of areas around, there's a limbic system around here and different things, but I didn't want to name specific parts, just the idea that there's a part of our brain that is core, and it's much older in evolutionary terms. And as things have developed, we have much more sort of newer, sophisticated prefrontal cortex area where it's much more flexible, much more reflective, whereas this, in its functioning, is quite solid, much more fixed and rigid. It's what we share with animals quite a lot, so it has to do with our survival. So we need this part of our brain really, well, we're still developing in the wombs to monitor our heart rate, to keep a cool body temperature and things like this, and alter things. And as we get born and develop, we need to master a sense of balance. We have our senses input and being able to arrange them. And much more later on, really, we try to be adaptive and master sort of functioning. It's about dealing with the outside world and much better, about relationships and all the complexity about relationships. The other significant thing around here is that we have a kind of an alarm centre where our fight, flight, freeze, fright kind of function comes in, and it bypasses this reflective part. So if we're in danger, if we see a tiger coming towards us, then our limbic system sends messages through our body, down through our brainstem, our heart rate beats faster, we get ready to run, we got adrenaline pumping through our system. And it's the same with animals, they will react in similar ways. And when this part sort of switches down regulates, then we become much more relaxed and we'll operate up here. So the two, the trunk and the canopy, we're working together, but they're where the energy gets, I suppose, switches between them. In terms of developing, when we're growing, depending on what happens to us, I suppose this tree develops in a different way. So if we have a very nurturing environment, we might develop in a certain way that we become very well seated in our bodies, and that eventually we become quite rounded in our relationships. Things happen if there's not so much nurturing, or if there's abuse, some kind of trauma. Some of these developments can be arrested. That there's an issue, sometimes not just in the brain region being damaged, but actually just in how the brain relates to each other. It's that an interest. But this all has a relationship when we think about when we go and meet with someone, they don't know what's in our mind, they don't know what's our intention, we're a bit of a blank screen to them. So here we are, this person, I don't know, from Adam. But if they're operating from here, they might be anxious, they might be actually scared about the consequences. This alarm centre's in around the trunk is going to switch on much more. So we might find that they're reading into our minds. And we might find that it's almost like we're being seen through a distorting screen, really. Some of this can be literally the trauma they've reacted to. There's an echo, people have flashbacks, and it distorts the way they read their environment, people in their environment. But also it can be just how someone is set up in their personality and their growth. And it's sort of a core thing that might be encapsulated by how the world sees me. We all develop that sense, and hopefully it might be in a positive light. But it isn't necessarily. It could actually be that the world sees me as something to humiliate, something to laugh at, something to belittle, or something to criticise, something to attack. So if the person holds those kind of views, then we're going to fit into that. They're going to see us in that way. And they might well then be alerted and be defended against how we approach them. From a neutral stance, from our point of view, it's a neutral stance, but actually it's very much engendered. How we might go about dealing with this is from this fixed, rigid point. Actually, it's looking for information to confirm or deny. So if I saw a tiger, I don't know if it's going to attack me, but I'm not going to really hang around to, see what's going on in its mind and things. But if I do get some evidence that there's actually a cage between us, or I'm quite safe, I might start to relax a bit more. And likewise, I think we need to be really explicit what's going on in our minds, that what our intentions are. And we pick up when there's a distortion. So I see how you could have been really worried if you thought I was coming here to mark you or make judgments about you, but that's not what's going on in my mind. Be quite open about what's going on in my mind, and hopefully people will start then to operate in this much more flexible, reflective part of their minds, so that we can relate better together.